Embrace your vulnerability. Pero ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin when we say, embrace your shame and your vulnerability?
Vulnerability, yung magpakatotoo ka or sa pagkatao mo. Magpakatotoo ka dun sa kung sino ka talaga or kung anong meron ka talaga. Okay? So, why is vulnerability a scary word or a scary thing for a lot of people? Men and women, actually, not just for the women, no? Because vulnerable has attached to it a sense of rawness. When I say rawness, hindi yung pagkahilaw, okay? Iba yon. Rawness is more on, okay. It's like you're exposing yourself, flaws and all. You're exposing yourself, the ugliness of it all.
The
And that,
weakness.
the weakness, the flaws, the imperfectedness, right? So that goes back again to, nakakatakot siya kasi, why? Again, you ask yourself, what is so scary about you revealing your past or your situation or your whatever drama it is that you have in your life? What's so bad about it when you just admit it to, when you admit to yourself, number one, and admit it to others? It goes back to shame. It goes back to fear of judgment. Again, uulit na naman yan, fear of what other people will say, fear of what other people will think about you or talk about you behind your back. Babalik na naman siya doon. And being vulnerable actually can have its, ito nga eh, it can have its ugly side because it doesn't look beautiful or it doesn't look perfect. But that is also the beauty and power of vulnerability. Being vulnerable means acknowledging na kung sino ako, eto ako, but it's not stopping there. So for example, aminin ko, nagkamali ako when I went into this relationship, when I made this decision about my career or about my money or about my relationships in the family. And then what?
That's
Kaya,
important. And then
yeah,
what? Because if you
diba?
stop lang doon sa, nagkamali ako eh. Period. That's
Or,
different.
kasi, diba, nagkamali ako, nakakahiya. Ang daming mga
Oo.
kahihiyan ng buhay ko, right? Like ako, sasabihin ko, ang dami kong mga nakakahiyang things that I have done in my life. Especially when it came to relating with the opposite sex or having
Mhm.
relationships or wrong relationships, right? With men. Or even how I managed my money. Madaming nakakahiya. Pero, imagine mo kung hindi mo yan inamin sa sarili mo or hindi mo hinarap kung ano yung ano ka o kung ano yung pagdaanan mo, how will you move forward from it? How will you know what to address? Or how how will you know how to tame your dragon when you don't even want to admit there's a dragon?
Ang ganda nun. I love that. Oh, kumbaga, you recognize that you have a problem. Kasi for example, I want to solve this. Then first recognize, ano ba yung problema? So you
And
find the root
then,
cause.
yes, it's parang root cause analysis lang yan, di ba? Parang,
Yes.
parang what is the problem and acknowledging that the problem is something that you had decided on, chose, or participated in. Kasi posible din yung meron kang pinagdaanan but you don't wanna own it. You don't
Ay,
wanna
alam
make
ko
it
yan,
out.
coach. Yung it's never my fault. It's always the fault of this person. It's the fault of my
Yes.
parents. It's the fault of my
Blaming.
friends, the people
Blaming
around me,
them.
but it's never my fault. Perfect ako eh. Wala
And
akong
meron ako
pagkakamali.
yan, Meron ako yan, Roma, before when because my finances weren't great or I couldn't, parang at the age of 36 or
Mhm.
something, I had no financial wealth to show. And before, I would always blame my family kasi nga breadwinner, lahat na lang ng savings ko napunta sa kanila. So blame, 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 blame. Until I realized, if I keep on blaming them, that means I wouldn't do anything to change my financial situation when the power to improve it, to transform it, to elevate was actually all within me.
Mhm. That is
Imagine
so
if I had
true.
stayed, yeah, if I had stayed in blame mode, Eh, ano nangyari? Ano na mangyari? Di walang uusad. Di
Tapos
ba?
blame ka niyang blame, bigay ka pa rin naman ng bigay, di
Oo,
ba?
di ba?
Hindi ka naman nagbabago. That's why we have to give emphasis on I have a problem and then what? Because when you put the and then what, it means to say you are open to
Learning.
ano ba? Yeah, to entertain na yes, maybe there's a way that we can change things.
Yes, there is always a way. Yun.
Mm-mm.
Okay. There is always a way. A lot of times lang, people are just so focused on the problem that they are unable to rise up and look around to see possible solutions because there are solutions everywhere, all around us. If only we learn to just peel our eyes off the issue and start looking elsewhere for solutions, or sometimes start looking deeper within ourselves for the solution.
Let's say there are people na ayaw pag-usapan yung past nila because it's so maybe it's so dark or shady or whatever, and they don't want to go back to that memory, but they just want to move on with their life, maybe because talagang nahihiya sila. But do you think that is also stopping them to become a to reach their potential?
I would say it is big obstacle, malaking hadlang, malaking block yan. Why? If you don't wanna talk about it, you don't wanna face it, twofold yan eh. Number one, it's going to be forever skeletons in your closet. Something that's always there, that's always like, parang you
It's
can't
gonna
be
crawl
free.
behind your back.
Yeah, you cannot be free to be yourself because there's always this thing that you are hiding or you are trying to keep away from others and even from yourself. Okay? What's the other thing about that? Maybe it's closure, or you will never find 100% peace. Because again, no, how do you overcome the demons in your life, or how do you overcome the devil that would whisper about your past? Harapin mo, tapatan mo, at sabihin mo sa kanya, okay, alam ko kung sino ka. Okay, alam ko kung ano yung ginawa mo sa buhay ko. Okay, alam ko yung mga pagkukulang na nangyari sa akin noon. Remember, it's always about the past eh. Diba? It's always about what has been done or what's been, uh, basta kung ano yung natapos na. So
And
when you're able to
imagine,
do so, oh,
and
I
just
said,
imagine, coach, it's in the past but ang lakas pa rin ng power niya sa present mo, no?
yes, kasi ayaw harapin. Pero once naharap mo siya and you start naming the problem, naming the issue, the power will just diminish. It'll just melt away because once na-confront mo siya, you know who you're up against and you know what you can overcome. Similar to what I said kanina, di ba? Paano mo aayusin kung hindi mo harapin?
Mm-hmm.
How can you tame your dragon? Like what I said kanina. Addressing it and facing head on actually kills the power.
Ganda nun. Yes. Oo. Very important na, kasi ako rin naniniwala ako sa closure eh. Naniniwala ako sa power ng
Mm.
closure because the moment you decide to put everything, like magkaroon kayo ng closure, may it be a relationship, an episode in your life, you are removing the power from that person, from that experience to influence or change your position, your decision sa present mo and in the future. And parang kahit maahalongkat nyo yan, yeah, hindi ko naman dinideny. Parang ganon. Hindi ko naman
Yes, yun.
dinideny. Ganon talaga
Yun,
ako.
yun, Roma. Na kahit mahalungkat siya or maungkat siya, dahil na-address mo na siya, it will no longer trigger you. It will no longer bother you. Because you're done with it, you've settled it, and you laid it to rest. Rather than stuffing it all in the closet of your head and your heart. Now, one day, you just don't know when an incident that's similar or has a pattern that's similar to the past comes up, you will get triggered or it will haunt you. That's why issues become patterns eh. Because pag
Yes.
hindi mo siya hinarap, life will always present to you something related to that past issue until you learn what you need to learn to overcome.
And that is